Hey everyone, Gaijin here. I was not expecting this particular video to be one of the frontliners for this new project and this new channel that I'm trying to work on. But man, I don't think I can get this out unless I guess, vomit words. I mean, that's what a lot of YouTube videos turn into, and some of my best work has been me vomiting opinions into a camera. So, let's just say screw it and go for it. So, I've been watching this new Netflix anime called Japan Sinks. I actually got word from Joey the Anime Man and Aki Deers to check it out, and I have conflictions. But I will say, despite the title of this video, trust me, it will all wrap up in together. Hey, you know what I didn't do as I'm going back to edit this video? Explain what the heck Japan Sinks is about. So without too many spoilers, it's basically a 10-episode story of a family trying to survive the biggest earthquake to hit Japan in history. And it's so bad, in fact, that it causes the entire archipelago of Japan to sink underwater, thus the name. It is gritty and real, but it is also very human, because it gives an interesting look into international families in Japan and what they go through. As the father Koichiro is full-blooded Japanese, the mother Mari is Filipino, and Ayumu and Go, the kids, are mixed. Though that really doesn't help the issue that I'm facepalming at. I do need to mention too that I first made this video like 2 months ago when the anime first released, and since then I have watched it to completion and really did enjoy it. Well, except for the cult stuff, that just felt weird and misplaced. But yeah, despite what you're gonna hear me say in this video, it's worth checking out. It's just, there was one thing that just drove me nuts in this series. God, where do I get started? Okay, so for those of you that didn't know, I was in the JET program from 2009 to 2011. 2011. I'll let that sink in for a minute, considering what happened at that time, and why this movie relates back to it. But, I taught in 2 high schools. One of them that I went to once a week was pretty good. The rest of the week I went to a not so great one. The kids were good, the teachers were great. It was just a really bad circumstance, so let me just put it that way. Let me debunk right now, from the Gaijin perspective, that this idea of all schools in Japan being great is a big fat bold-faced lie. If you ever end up working in one, take it from me, try to find value in the kids. Try to get out of the circumstance. I'm sorry, I'm digressing. There's just so much to unpack. So, in Japan Sinks, there was one particular kid whose name is Go. Now, I only really just got started watching. I think I got up to episode 4 before I, put it down and decided I had to rant at the camera for a while about what's been going on. I don't know why. I don't know why. But in this show, this kid interjects horrible English at random.
That's
my mom!
I really don't know why. I don't know what the purpose was. Because if this was supposed to if this was supposed to give identification to foreigners living in Japan, it did a horrible job. Horrible job. And it's not that it's English, it's not that it's poorly pronounced, it's words that don't work in the timing. And the more I watched this show, the more angry I got. I actually closed it down 3 times and picked myself back up to go back and watch it because this little twerp made me want to shut it down. Now, this has nothing to do with the voice actress. This is everything about the direction and the writing when it comes to this show. And I wanted to like this show. You guys have no idea how much I want to like this show. Because in the very beginning, the very first episode, there are talks of foreigners living abroad in Japan who are struggling with family members who want them to come home. I went through that. I absolutely went through that. I was there for March 11th. Thankfully, I was down in Mie-ken. I was in Mie Prefecture. So I only felt kind of the tremors and the aftershock. But man, it really was interesting seeing how the entire country reacted to the March 11th earthquake. That meant a lot to me because I had so many friends and family who were like, you need to come home. It's not safe there anymore. It's in the line. I'll put an image here where it's like family are saying it's not safe there, but the people who are there are like, no, Japan can get through this. We can get through this. I don't want to leave. That's where I was. I wasn't willing to give up my dream of getting to Japan and living in Japan, doing the JET program and doing my best to act as a grassroots diplomat. But that dream kind of fell away. And we're going and it's such a weird twisted turn of events because we're going from this whole earthquake thing into this English thing, but trust me, it does follow through. Shortly, I would say maybe a couple months after that, I was working with one of my team teaching teachers. If you don't know about the JET program, predominantly it is going to be you and a partner teacher, one of the English teachers who works at the school that you're going to be at. And one of the things that I want to do is try and explain to my kids why it's important to maybe not learn English, but learn another language. Where I live, we had a really, really, really big Brazilian group. So I was like, kids, if you don't want to learn English, fine. Learn Portuguese. Learn a language that's going to provide for you the ability to go above and beyond linguistically, because it opens so many more doors. That was the point I was trying to teach. And most of my teachers were down with that. A lot of my teachers were super down with that. They actually helped me keep the kids wrangled, and focused and pay attention, because they were like, no, this makes sense. It can open opportunities. But there was one. And it was the most eye-opening moment that I had ever just... I was trying to do this lesson. I was trying to tell my kids why it's important to learn another language. What it can do for you financially, what it can do with you romantically. There's a lot of different reasons to be multilingual. And as much as I'd like to sit here and say that I am, I really can't say that I am. I'm functional in Japanese, but that is extremely limiting, but sorry. I have so many videos that I need to make when it comes to this kind of thing. She stopped me in the middle of it, and she pulled me aside, and she said, these kids are never leaving their hometown. They're never going to go out and do really big things. You're boring them. You're boring them. They're never going to leave their hometown. They're never going to do anything besides being in some kind of menial job. Because this was a low-end high school. And if you go to a low-end high school, you're going to a low-end college, if even at all. You go to a low-end college in Japan, you're going into a low-end position. It's a screwed up system. It makes sense on paper. But it just... I was so flabbergasted. I had no idea what to say. I actually had to sit down. And I said, then what are we gonna do? And she said, we should just play a game. And it was some cockamamie English game that didn't matter. It didn't build vocabulary, it didn't build confidence, and it didn't build sentence structure, it didn't build anything. And that really does sum up what teaching English in Japan is like. There are exceptions. The English club that I worked with was a huge exception to that, because we always conversed in English, and I wanted to be there more, but contractually I couldn't. Or rather, I should say the Board of Education wouldn't let me. And there was an advanced English class that I had a great time with, but it was one class throughout the entire week. Every other class that I went to was like this. The Tokyo government tells every single jet that they want us to have vigor and energy to try and get these kids interested. To not just English, but at the very least to not be afraid of foreigners, and at the very most to want to travel abroad. The system doesn't care. It's risky for me to say this, but the reason why Japan Sinks made me so mad, why one superfluous child character made me so mad that I couldn't finish, is because it did nothing but remind me that in the broad stroke of things, in the grand scheme of things, within the education system in Japan, they do not care about English. They don't. Prove to me that they... I challenge anyone right now to prove to me that I am incorrect. And I'm not talking about like a specialty school. I'm not talking about an eikaiwa. I'm not talking about those kinds of things. Because if I was to go back and teach, that's what I would focus on. I'm talking about elementary, junior high, high school. And you know, the funniest thing too is that while I was abroad, Japan had begun instigating this new policy where they were going to start teaching English in elementary school, which I think is a great idea. you gotta hook them while they're young, because the older you get, the harder it is for you to learn things. I'm in my mid-30s. It's hard to learn things. Let me tell you. But they don't care. They don't. You want to know how I know? Check this out. I had grabbed one of the English books. I wish I brought it back with me. I grabbed one of the English books and I flipped through it, and I was looking for like authors and people who put it together. Guess what? All Japanese names. All Japanese names. I found this peculiar. So I went up to one of my teen teachers and I said, "Did you know that this book for teaching English was completely written by a Japanese staff?" And they're like, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, "All right. What if in a high school, college class, you had a teacher who was using a book to teach Japanese that was written by a non-Japanese person?" And you know what they said? They said, "Oh, that's terrible." No kidding. And it's not even, I know that sounds horribly prejudiced, but all you have to do is look into one of their books and you can see how bad it is. My favorite example was, I was going through this list of what my kids were supposed to be learning. There was a conversation between two kids that couldn't be any more than about 14, 15 in this book of learning English. The flow of it made no sense. And it was actually kind of depressing now that I think about it. It was two kids talking about wanting to hook up, and then the girl was like, "No, I don't ever want to get married because we're just gonna divorce. We're literally gonna stay married until our kids leave the nest, and then we're gonna divorce." A 14-year-old was supposed to say that in English. But I think the best one of why there's just so much not caring is there was this situation in this book. You have one person who's in like decked out baseball gear, holding tickets in their hand with like a big foam glove, and another guy with movie tickets in his hands, and they cross paths and they're old friends, and they're like, "Hey, I have 2 tickets for this movie, do you want to go?" And this guy who has a jersey on, a foam finger, and baseball tickets in his hand is like, "No, I can't go to the movies wearing this getup." And I'm like, you must teach context. I wanted to like this show. I really wanted to like this show, considering the material. Considering I lived during the closest thing to where this material would happen. And I got sucked out. But I don't know why anime does this. It's one of the things that completely... One of my favorite anime of all time / manga of all time, Gaijin, even does this. That show is the closest to representing American otaku in my opinion, but guess what? They couldn't get a native English speaker to do the role.
It's past noon already. I wonder why Sue hasn't come back.
Oh, don't worry. I think she's just walking around to see everything. She's so through, you know.
Why? They exist. I met them, living abroad. They're there. Use them. We're in an age where we are so careful about representation, now more than ever. With everything that's been going on in the voice acting community, we are so hard up on proper representation. So why is it, Japan, that you cannot get a native speaking English person? It is so infuriating. And it's infuriating because I've had to live through the not caring. Oh hey, fun fact past me, there actually was an anime that did this right, and it was Love Live of all things.
Are you girls Japanese? Yes! We are Japanese student.
You're here for some performance?
Major props to that series for actually getting foreign speakers to represent foreign characters. And again, I apologize, I know I'm just vomiting into a camera and I'm probably at the 20-minute mark at this point, but it's just, this is a series of things. This is a magical series of things that started off me interested in an anime that had such a big impact in my life because, again, I was there for the closest thing that this show possibly could have happened. And I'm tripping over my words right now. I'm just so... But all it did was just remind me, through one stupid, superfluous kid character, why I will never, ever teach English in that country unless I have some control over what's going on. The best classes I ever had as a jet was when I taught by myself. My school was cool enough to give me full range. They trusted me with full range of teaching these kids, and I took it. And I taught them practicality. I taught them not only why to use this English, but how and when, which are super important. Japan keeps talking about how they're gonna revamp their English teaching program. They keep talking about how they're gonna make it better, how the English literacy rate is gonna rise in that country. It's not. Until Japan changes its outlook on not just foreigners in general, but the English language, it will not change. I don't personally get mad when people, I pretend to get mad when I'm streaming or I'm in a video with someone and they use, Japanese in a goofy way. I pretend to get mad. I don't get mad. You wanna know why? Because Japan does it worse with English. I had to drill out of my kid's head. I had to drill English out of their head so hard. Because they see English on different signs and billboards and store names and things like that, and that's what they think real English is. It's this weird bastardization of a language. If you guys have never seen him before, go watch this guy named Dogen, because he's talked about this many times. In a mostly joking sort of sense, but in a very real sense. Bad English has started to overtake Japanese, and that's kind of his beef, and I agree with his beef. But it's not only that, it's that there is so much pop cultureification of the English language that they're never gonna get better. And this, either I have control or it doesn't happen. Because I have spent so much time sifting through all this crap, sifting through all these awful books that never even had an editor as a with native speaking ability. Not even editors in these books. And these are supposed to be the English teaching tools for these kids in Japan. And it blows my mind that it's still doing this. So, if you plan to get into the JET program, if you plan to teach abroad, if you plan to just live abroad, these are the things that you're going to have to take in consideration. You will have to take into consideration that the only reason that these kids are ever taught English in any capacity whatsoever, outside of their own willingness to learn the language further, is to pass an entrance exam. That's it. That's it. There's no practicality to it. It was my responsibility to give practicality to this language teaching. And it's going to be your responsibility to give practicality to the English language that you are going to be teaching if you get into JET, or if you go through Gaijin Pot and get an Eikaiwa position. And the system is going to shut you down, preventing you from doing it. They're going to try real hard. And you want to know why? Because they want to focus on everything that the kids know for that test. Because that entry test makes or breaks a kid's life. And that's not fair. I wholly admit that that's not fair. But that's not how they're going to learn English. It's not. This isn't about representation, despite the fact that I just got done yelling at the fact that it was about representation. This is about doing it right. And the way it's going now is not right. And it was only exemplified with me watching Japan 6. A lot of people are gonna downplay it. A lot of my friends are gonna downplay it. And I can understand that and respect them for that decision. I can't downplay it. I can't downplay it because for multiple years of my life, it was a struggle to do my job. And I guess I just never have gotten over it. So, I don't know, guys. All I can say is if you're going to go over there to teach English, the best of luck. Because it's an uphill fight. You're not only going to have to get them introduced into new aspects of the language, but you're going to have to drill out the old. And there's a lot of old. But I think it can be done. I have hope. You want to know why? Because I actually met some kids that cared. I met a handful of kids that really did care about learning it properly and the right the right application of it. Even some of my kids who couldn't speak it barely at all. I was at least able to explain to them the practicality and when to use it. And that makes up for it. That's filling in the patches that exist. So, again, if you're going to the JET program, or if you're going to teach it some eikaiwa, if you're in any situation, unless you're gonna teach some elderly people, which by the way, that's like the best scenario to do it in. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to you, because it's gonna be a fight. But the one thing you gotta remember, look at me, guys. The one thing that you gotta remember when you're teaching English in Japan is that you're gonna hit home with a couple of kids. And you make that your priority. It's so easy to give up and leave. I gave up and left because I just couldn't take it anymore. Maybe that's me being weak, whatever. Look at where I am now. Now the entire world now the entire world can be my students, so to speak. Focus on the kids that want it. You can apply this to any aspect of education. I apply this to my community when I do stuff like this for you guys. Find the ones who care and foster them. It will bring you so much joy. Focus on that and you guys are going to be okay. But yeah, man, it's a lot of emotions. A lot of emotions from 4 episodes of an anime that you probably have not heard of. But this is something that I think I needed to have done a long time ago. This is 10 years of repression finally coming out. For a channel I don't even know if it's going to succeed. For a video that I don't even know if it's going to get 1,000 views. But it's still important for me to get that done. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope to put more up on this channel. If you guys like this kind of content, let me know. I've got so many stories. And they're all from a Gaijin perspective. So thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, this is Gaijin. Signing